are powers on Earth too hidden to be seen, and conspiracies too vast to comprehend. For years, the world has seen fact distorted, reality manipulated, and the truth concealed. Join the Pierre Sebak podcast to uncover the real meanings behind ancient aliens and their symbolism.
Hi, this is Pierre Sebak, unlocking the keys to the mysteries. Now, in my previous video we talked about the Karen, and we talked about how the Karen are related to the angelic sailors. Now in this video I really wanted to continue with the same theme of the Karen, but I also wanted to draw their attention also to, with their relationship also to the Elohim, and the relationship in particular to the angelic host. I think here it's very useful for us to go over some of the old etymologies associated with the Karen and with the angelic sailors in particular, and then we will go into this in a lot more detail. So first of all, I just want to go over some of the etymologies which are related in the Hebrew to a companion. Now, as I said before earlier in my previous video, the Arabic word Karen is translated as a constant companion. I translate this word as a familiar or a familiar spirit. It can also be understood to be a type of jinn. Now this jinn accompanies an individual during their life, so this can really be understood to be some type of entity which shadows an individual. Now when we take the Hebrew word when we take the Arabic word Karen and we render it into the Hebrew, we get the etymology of kava, which is a companion. Now kava, a companion, is very closely related to the Hebrew word kovel, which is a sailor. As I said before, kovel, a sailor, would in the Old Semitic add a connotation of the angelic sailors or host. Hence at the end of the word kov el is a type of deity. So kovel, a sailor, in this respect is related to the Elohim, in particular the angelic host, Sabaoth, which is host, Sopheth, which is a watcher, which is related to the seraphic host, the seraphim. So there is then this relationship between Kava, a companion, Kovel, a sailor, Kaba, which is an emissary. Now the etymology really means to enumerate, but the terminology emissary in this respect is related to an angel, and there is also this wordplay on the Old Semitic word, in particular in the hieroglyphic of Kaba, which in this respect would be a son of a star. So the angels themselves are related are descended from a star. They can be understood to be a son of a boat, the Ben Sira, or also Kaba, which is a son of a star. Now this star is the dog star, and is rendered in Arabic as al-Kalb, the dog star. Now the dog star is a signifier used to refer to Kabir, which is lordship. And this is really relating to a hidden tradition of the jinn, hence this relationship with Kaba, which is to hide or to conceal. Now, looking at the relationship between Kaba, a son of a star, Kaba, which is an emissary or an angel, and Kaba, which is the Arabic root, which is to hide or to conceal, we can see that there is this connotation of the jinn, which is also found within the Arabic word jinn and jana, which is to hide or to conceal. So this really then goes into what we're referring to as the scaphological tradition, which is this hidden tradition concerning the depiction of angelic boats or vessels within the ancient tradition and within the religious tradition. Now there is therefore this relationship between a companion jinn, a constant companion or a familiar spirit, and this relationship in English of a company of soldiers. Now these etymologies are also polyglottal, and they're also found within the Arabic and within the Hebrew and the various different word plays. So what we can say in general, we can say that the messengers or the partners, they can they can be shown, or they can be demonstrated to originate from the stars. In particular, the Elohim and the Seraphim are related to the traditions of Sirius, hence this relationship between Kovel, a sailor, Kaba, which is the son of a star, Kava, which is a companion, and Al-Kalb, which is the dog star. Now, these angelic sailors, they're depicted typically as crew members of circular vessels. These circular vessels are represented as shields. They're also represented as wheels also, hence the Aramaic word ophanim, which means the wheels. Now, according to this thesis, which I'm highlighting, the mythology of the alien therefore is dependent upon a classical tradition, and by this I'm referring to Classis, which is a naval fleet. In this context, this is a hidden or a concealed tradition. It's classified, and therefore Classis, which is a naval fleet, would in this respect connote the angels, hence this relationship between Malak, an angel, and Malak, which is a polymorphic word or a polymorphic symbol of Malak, which is an angel. So these are angelic sailors which are identified with circular vessels, which in today's parlance would be equivalent to a flying saucer. So we can really say that the representation of the Karin and the spiritual hosts and the high spirits, that they really are interconnected with this extraterrestrial tradition, and this is an occult tradition which is very ancient and is concordant with the Jinn and the Elohim, and it really does go back into the scatological tradition of the host and their companion spirits. So if we were looking at the Elohim and their companion Jinn, which can be understood as the angelic host and their high spirits, we can say that the Arabic word Karin, which is a companion, is a close cognate of the ru'akh, which is a high creature. And again, there is this relationship with Kael, which is the host. And once again, if we took the Arabic word Karin and we rendered that into the Hebrew, we would have Kava, which is a companion. And Kava, a companion, is related to Kaba, which is an emissary, one who enumerates or a messenger, hence an angel. And Kovel, which is this sailor, which would be an angelic sailor, hence the suffix at the end of the word Kovel. In this respect, El would be a type of deity. The same wordplay is found in the Hebrew and Arabic, again in the etymology, Malak an angel and Malak a sailor. So if you like, the appellation Kava is esoteric. It's referring to the companion, which has this connotation of the Karin, which are these companion spirits. But once again, Kava, which is a companion, can be seen to be a close cognate of Kaba, which is a messenger, this type of angelic messenger, which is feeds into the traditions of the angelic sailors. So therefore we can say that the Kava, which is the companions within the Hebrew, are really one and the same with the Karin, which is a companion within the Arabic, this type of familiar spirit. So we can also say that the Karin, which is a companion, it really is an adaptation on the Arabic etymology, Kayin, which is an entity, and these entities are very much assigned or are related to the ru'akh, which is a high life form. And the ru'akh are the Elohim, the high ones. The high ones are the gods or the deities which originate from heaven. So the Karin companion informs Kayin, which is an entity, and it really hints at the Kael, which is a living god. But remember, the word Kael, which can be rendered as a living god, is a close cognate of the Aramaic word Kael, which is the host, because the host can be seen as being a living host. Hence, in the ancient Aramaic, ru'akh is a high creature. It's referring to this living god or a high creature. So the definition in the Aramaic of Kael, the host, is once again a codification of the Lord of the host. And the Lord of the host is an agency which is shown to be partnered with the Jinn, with the Ru'akh Elohim, with the high spirits. So these etymologies then are really showing this close cognate between the host, the angels, which can be deemed to be angelic sailors, and then we've got the living host or a living god. So I just want to go over a few different word lists and try and summarize some of these ideas. We can say that the Elohim or Yahweh Sabaoth, the Lord of the hosts, is related to the living hosts, but these living hosts are also understood to be spirits. So these entities are viewed to be a holographic culture. They are physical beings, they are physical entities, but they can dematerialize. They are spiritual, they are invisible, and the invisible kingdom or the invisible world is very much the domain of the jinn. So when we look at the ru'akh and the living host, we can say that the etymology of ru'akh, a high creature, is very closely related to Kael, which is a living god. But this is a wordplay, because Kael, which is a living god, is a wordplay on the old Aramaic word Kael, which is the host. And in the modern Hebrew, this would be Kayal, which refers to a soldier. And again, the etymologies are very closely aligned to Kel Ayam, which is a navy. Kel Ayam, which is a navy, again, is related to the ru'akh, or the high creatures, which would relate to Kayin, which is an entity, which is a type of being, and is once again referring to Karin, which is a companion spirit. So Kael the host then is really thematic of Kael, which is a living god. And Kael, a living god, well, this is a title which is really compatible, certainly within the biblical traditions, with the ru'akh, which is a high creature or a living god. And the Aramaic listing of K, a creature, Hebrew Kayer, an animal, well, these are all terms that correspond to both Kayin, which is an entity, and Karin, which is a companion jinn. So when we take all these etymologies together, the insinuation really is that Karin, an entity, can really be understood to be an ru'akh, a high creature, and this is a being that is equated with the Lord of the host. Hence in the Hebrew, the etymology of Kael, which is a soldier. And this host, or the angelic host, or the angelic sailors, for example, Malach, an angel, and Malach, a sailor, or we had earlier Kovel, which is a sailor, related to Kaba, which is an emissary or a messenger, the morphological switch between the B and the V. But we can really say that this angelic host really articulates this naval force, and this naval force is derived from heaven, hence this correlation with the modern Hebrew word Kel Hayam, which is a navy. So we can say then, when we're looking at the angelic host, and again we're saying it's in the relationship also with the old Hebrew and Aramaic word Sabaoth, host, Saba, which is an army, and so this is a type of army or military host. But again, Saba host is closely related to Sevet, which is a crew of a naval vessel. So the relationship between a soldier and a naval force is very closely aligned within the ancient Hebrew. So when we're talking about the angels and we're talking about the angelic host, we're really looking at this military force. They can be understood to be a soldier, but they're also understood to be a sailor, hence this relationship between the old Aramaic word Zah, which is an alien or an angel, and Sira, which is a boat, Sa, which is a naval captain, or the polymorphic word Malach, an angel, and Malach, a sailor. So these are all definitions which really are equated with the Elohim and their angelic sailors. And this contingent is really likened to the high spirits. The high spirits can be understood to be collectively the watchers. Now, the relationship between the ru'akh Elohim, which are the high spirits, can be translated as the jinn. And again, the Arabic word jinn, from jana, to hide, or to conceal, can be understood really to be the seraphim, and indeed the Arabic scholars would render the Hebrew word seraphim as jinn. Now the jinn are said to be born from fire, and again the seraphim are related to Serapha, which is fire. The seraph is also a cognate of Sopheth, which is a watcher, and we're finding this same wordplay or word association with the Erin. Erin is a watcher, but it also denotes a shining one. Now the shining ones are those who are born of fire, which are the jinn, which is this esoteric signifier of the dog star, or as we said before, this relationship between Kovel, which is a sailor, and then Kaba, which is an emissary, one who enumerates, an angel. And these etymologies also are related in the Arabic to Al-Kalb, which are the dog star. So what I'm really trying to say here is that the ru'akh a high creature, they really are, when we begin to break it down, they are one and the same with the ru'akh Elohim, which are the high spirits, and this is referring to an entity which can dematerialize. So we're dealing here with both a physical type of entity and also an entity which can make itself invisible or dematerialized, and so we're really referring to the jinn in a very collectivized sense, or we're referring to the Elohim, the high ones, because they're very closely related. Now, within Islamic law, the Karin, which we said earlier, is a type of companion spirit, is translated typically as a constant companion. We can see that they are very closely related to the etymology of Erin, which are the watchers. And I think it's useful here to look at the relationship between the Karin and the ru'akh. So when we look at the Elohim, certainly within the biblical and the Apocrypha tradition, the Elohim are depicted as an ru'akh, which is a type of living God or a high creature. And these entities can dematerialize, and therefore they can make themselves invisible, and therefore they're often translated or associated with the jinn. And again, the angelic host is often translated as the spirit, the spiritual hosts are understood to be a type of spiritual host. And so there is this interplay between the physical and the non-physical. Now, when we look at the word ru'akh, a high creature, we see that there is this relationship between the Lord's host, in this respect, Kael, which is a host, and again, it's a wordplay on K, which is and Kael, which is a living God. Now, Kael, a living God, has this connotation of Kaya in the Hebrew. Kaya is an animal. And again, the terminology Kaya, an animal, is a cognate of Kayin, which is an entity. Now, Kayin, an entity, is a close cognate of Karin, which is a companion spirit or a jinn. So again, we're seeing this interplay between the host, the living creatures or the high creatures, and Karin, which is a companion spirit, which is really understood to be Erin, which is a type of watcher. And again, we said that in my previous videos, that Erin, a watcher, is related to the Elohim, which are the high ones. And again, within the Greek, theos, a god, and theros is a watcher. So the watcher or the high ones or the shining ones are all related. Hence this relationship in Greek between theros, a watcher, and phos, which is light. In the Hebrew also, Erin is a watcher or a shining one, which relates to the Elohim. So when we summarize these etymologies, we can see that the ru'akh is a type of a high creature, and they really are connected to a living host. So these can be understood to be animals, kaya and animal, and these are entities. Kayin, which is an entity which is paired with a jinn or a spirit. Karin, which is a companion spirit or a jinn. In modern English, we would translate this as a familiar spirit. And the Karin can be understood to be a type of watcher, hence this etymological relationship with Erin, which is a watcher. And we said that there was the connection between Erin and the Elohim, the high ones, which are identified with the seraphic host. Hence Yahweh Sabaoth is a type of Elohim. Yahweh is the Lord of the host, but there is this relationship between Sopheth, a watcher, Saba, which is an army, Safa, which is a type of viper, Seraph, which is a serpent or a type of non-human angel. So really we're looking here at the seraphic host, and we're seeing that there are these important correspondences in the etymologies, if you like, between the seraphim and the jinn, this living host or the spiritual host. And we can see that all of these different types of entities really are interconnected with the Elohim. And this is an important position which we really need to understand when we're trying to deconstruct who the angelic sailors are and their relationship also to the Elohim. So if we quickly look at the Elohim just before I finish, we can say a number of things about the Elohim or the deities. We can say that the Elohim, translated as the high ones, that they are both physical and spiritual beings, and this very much goes back into the traditions of the jinn. Now the terminology Elohim, the lofty ones, we can see that there's a split, and they really do branch off the Elohim, but they are one and the same thing, and we need to really emphasize this as well when we're talking about the Elohim. So the Elohim can be understood to be the ru'akh Elohim, which are the high spirits. Now the high spirits can be understood in this respect to be Erin, a watcher or a shining one. Now in the Testament of Amram, which is an apocrypha document, the Testament of Amram says that the Erin look like vipers. So these really are referring to the seraphim. Hence this relationship between Erin, which is a watcher or a shining one, and the Elohim. But we would say find the same wordplay with Soph, a watcher, Seraph, a serpent, Serapha, which is fire. So these are the watchers or the shining one. The fire in this respect being a signifier of Sirius. And then we've got the split, if you like, between the Erin, and then we've got the Karen, which is a type of jinn, a familiar spirit or a constant companion. Now, on the other side, we've got the Elohim as physical creatures, hence this relationship between the Elakeh, which is a living God. And again, the Elakeh are closely synonymous with the Erin, which are the watchers, and Kayin, which is a type of entity. So we can see, therefore, that these word associations suggest that the Karen, which is this type of companion spirit or a jinn, it's closely paired to the Erin, which are the watchers or the shining ones. And these entities are personified as the Elohim, which is a god. As we said before, in the Greek, theos, God, theros, a watcher, and phos, which is light. And again, this goes back into Gnostic philosophy as well. The snake can be understood to be a type of dragon, drakon, which is which is from the verb drakain, which is to watch or to shine. Drakos, which is an eye. So the dragon in this respect can be understood to be a type of seraphim, which the Arabs translated as a type of jinn. And this would therefore tie in with the traditions of the daemon within the Greek traditions also, and the archons as well, because remember, the etymology of archon is both an angel or a ruler, but in the Old Semitic, the word archon, which is a Greek word, but the terminology is coming from the Semitic root akan, which is a type of seraph. Hence there is this relationship between the seraphim, angels, and lordship. This relationship, if you like, between Kovel, which is a sailor, and then we've got Kabir, which is a type of lordship, related to Kabar, which is an emissary. And the terminology is really denoting an angel, hence the relationship in the hieroglyphic with Kabar, which is a son of a star. Now the son of the star is really an angel, or the Ben Sira, hence this relationship between Sira, which is a boat, and Sira, which is Sirius. Now, as I've tried to imply within all of these different examples cited, the Elohim, the jinn, and the angels, in particular the seraphim, we can see that they're all regarded as non-human species, but they're also deemed to be both spiritual and physical entities, and these entities can dematerialize as a spirit. And so we can see that they really are connected to spiritual manifestation and to the traditions of the Ophanim wheels, which again, Ophir, which is gold, Pana, which is to turn, so this is a spinning wheel, which would be related in the Apocrypha traditions to a flying saucer. The flying saucer in this respect is a type of a ship or a vessel associated with the Elohim. So, I think I'm going to stop there. I think I've given you quite a lot of information for you all to think about. Once again, it's great to be talking and to be sharing my ideas on YouTube. Please tune in. Please pass these videos around as well, because this is very occult information. This is extremely obscure, and I've spent many years trying to deconstruct these etymologies and to try and understand what the angelic tradition means in terms of the scatological tradition, in terms of the deconstruction of angelic ships, and now these angelic ships relate to angelic messengers, and again how the angelic messengers are correlated with deity veneration, and the relationship between the ufological tradition and the scaphological tradition, which is the study of angelic ships. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to my channel, because I'm looking for more subscribers. In addition, please give this video a thumbs up. I really enjoyed talking to everyone, and it's great to be back. This is Pierre Sabak. Let's try and make this a better world. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.